It's so nice to see everyone again virtually. You're on Music and Chat with Shueh-li Ong, and it's a Happy New Year to you all from Nashville. Please say hi in the live chat over there, and let us know where you're tuning in from. Don't be backward and coming forward. And remember to put any questions you may have in the same live chat so that I may attend to them as the stream moves along. I want to say hi to our dear friend Tony Fallow, who tells us he's wearing shorts and that's unusual for him. I reckon it's very warm then in Castlemaine, Victoria, and that's Australia, right now. Anyone else out there? I do see again these virtual bodies bopping about on the internet, on my channel. I know you're there, so come on and say hello in the live chat. Oh, hey, hi Ed. So nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. It's been a few weeks since we last spoke, right, to you and Leopold. How's the weather like in Canada right now? I guess it's cold. Have you had snow yet? Unlike Tony Fallow, who's experiencing a hot summer in Australia. Okay, so today's live stream is a special one as I have one of my oldest friends joining me on the topic of jamming over the internet. Michael Spicer, my friend, and I have worked together for about 3 decades now, and one of these was as Electric Muse, where we churned out music and technology shows, and once in a blue moon, we would do something extraordinary, hence blue moon, such as release new music. The Triangle EDM set, which consists of 3 EDM pieces done by Michael and I, premiered on YouTube on Saturday the 2nd of January and consists of the 3 pieces, namely Delight, The Universe, Together. Get it? If you string the names together, that's what they say. And therefore download on my Bandcamp store site. You can either scan the QR code or go to shueh-li-ong.bandcamp.com. Okay, Egan tells us that there's been a bit of snow, a little below freezing. We've had some below freezing days here in Nashville, Tennessee. Oh, and it's seasonably warm. In fact, some words are tongue twisters for me, although they may not seem obvious. But when my eyes look at the words and they go, "That's a tongue twister," my tongue goes along with the joke. All right, it's 7 p.m. Central Time. Actually, it's 7:06. I think it's 7:06, as in 6 minutes past the hour. Wherever you are, let me know what time it is. I think it's 9:06 a.m. in Singapore on Sunday morning, and probably 12 noon in Australia on the eastern side where Tony Fala is. So let's get on with the stream. I don't know what you folks did over Christmas. Did you have turkey and ham and Christmas pudding and custard and all that good stuff and washed it down with a bottle of port or whatever? Well, that's what we used to do in Australia. But over this Christmas, Michael and I employed our individual music performance systems to jam 14 hours apart because, it was, I think, 8 o'clock here and it was 10 o'clock there, something like that, the next morning. So the idea of jamming over the internet has become a real possibility in the last few years with the promise of better audio quality and a lower latency achievable. And there's a long list, of course, of methods by which one can jam over the internet. So, of course, today is about Michael and my exploits over Christmas playing over the internet. So, without further ado, let's invite my good friend Michael Spicer in. And I use the trusty Skype app for this, so let's call Michael in. Hi, Michael.
Hi, you're there. I can see two of you.
I guess.
One on the little screen and one on the big screen.
Yeah, that's my evil twin.
Well, yes. I'm not saying anything.
No, you won't get in trouble. Everyone's had a go at me already. So since you're my oldest friend, you get permission to have a go at me too.
Okay, good. But I won't do that.
Okay, I have centered you in your screen already, so we're good to go. So, how's your morning? I hear you told me a few minutes ago it was raining. Is it still raining?
Yes, it's raining. It is January. It is Singapore, which is on the equator. So we have this thing called the northeast monsoon, and we have a thing called a northeast monsoon surge, which means it rains all the time.
And that's your weather report for the morning.
Yes, it's different from Australia, and it's different from America.
Well, Tony says hello, by the way. Tony Fowler, he's telling...
Hi, Tony.
He's telling me that he's wearing shorts, which is unusual for him. It must be very hot.
I guess it is, but he lives far from the sea, so I guess it gets warm up there.
So, Michael, we've been performing together for many, many years now. I told our viewing audience that it's been at least 3 decades, I think.
It has, yes.
In the last decade or so, I believe it's been like the last decade or so, I've been using Mainstage to create my live performance system, whilst you have stocked up on Modular Synths and its accessories as your central system. And to continue jamming remotely, we turned to Soundjack recently, a real-time communication system for live performance over a peer-to-peer and all-server streaming mode. We logged on 2 occasions to jam. I've told everyone it was Christmas Eve, where we called that our test session. And on Boxing Day, we jammed on 3 pieces. For those who don't know what Boxing Day is, Michael has the explanation.
It's when you put your presents away.
Actually,
back in the boxes.
I looked it up, and the backstory is something like in the old days where you had what you would call a domestic help or your employees if you own a business. That would be the day that they get their prezzies.
I wouldn't know about that, never having had domestic help.
So I think Boxing Day is not just an Australian phenomenon. I think Ed, is there Boxing Day in Canada too? Let us know if you're tuning from another country if there's such a thing as Boxing Day. And before we go on, and I'll show you a video, Tony Fowler comes back with the temperature in Victoria, Castlemaine is 35 degrees Celsius.
Oh, that's just normal for here. Actually, no, the Singaporeans would say 35 is hot. 34 is normal.
There you go. I think there was a day where we had a 25 degrees while I was back in Singapore last year. Or the year before. That's 25.
Maximum or minimum?
Maximum.
It's lower than that.
It was high 25 degrees, and my mom was, she asked me, am I sick because I have to put something else on? It's quite cold. I told her, no, you're not sick. It's just a cold day.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like that now. But I don't know the real temperature. I didn't check. Oh, well.
So Ed Egan our friend from Canada, Ed and Leopold, together formed the brains behind the Haken Continuum and Egan Matrix, the sound engine. Ed tells us that Boxing Day is a big thing in Canada. So there you go.
Yeah. Normally, it's just what in Australia. It's when everybody goes out and goes mad and buys all the things that they didn't buy for Christmas.
Oh, kind of like Black Friday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I guess so.
So I want to begin by playing a clip I assembled from video and audio that both Michael and I recorded at our individual stations, so to speak. And we decided to call, or maybe, I think I was guilty of naming this piece Time's Ticking.
Yeah, you're always guilty of the names.
Oh, yeah.
I never come up with names.
I put on the marketing hat. Okay, so let me play you this video. And it's of Michael and me jamming on this Boxing Day session. Time's ticking. Here we go.
Clap.
So that was Times Are Ticking, and our good friend Ben Ang had something nice to say. This is really amazing sounds and feels like you're in the same room. Aha! Let us tell you more.
We were in the same room. It was a virtual room. And then we were separated by a planet.
Ed Egan says, lovely. Thanks, Ed. So let us tell you a few secrets to our little recipe. So from here onwards, I'm going to quiz Michael, who'll supply the answers as though I had nothing whatsoever to do with this topic. And I'll jump in only where it concerns me, unless Michael wants to answer on my behalf, which means he can do a good impression of me.
No, I cannot do a good impression of you, but that's all right.
So
I might correct you when you correct me, though.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, okay. Tony had a question, but we will reveal the answer to that. He said, can you repeat the name of the internet system to collaborate online? Aha, here comes the answer. It's Soundjack. But so before we get to the details, a little backstory. Most of us in the USA are familiar with JackTrip, which is an app developed by Stanford University for real-time streaming over the internet. And it's their Center for Computer Research and Music and Acoustics that developed it. And they started this quarantine sessions in March where they used JackTrip, Jitsi for video, and OBS for streaming. Has anyone in the audience seen it or used it? JackTrip? Well, your answer, I wanted to, let me see. Okay, sorry. I slipped up on my notes. So Mix, when did you first discover Soundjack, and what were the other options?
Well, you see, COVID happened, and I have an ensemble class that I have to teach, and playing together is fairly important in an ensemble. So we needed to have some way to try and do internet jamming. So we tried just working on Zoom. That didn't work at all. We tried working on Teams. That didn't work at all. I knew about JackTrip, and I got that going, but that was a bit more fiddly. And I thought, well, my students are never going to find out, or they're never going to make it work. And then by chance, my Facebook friend Stefano Fasciani, who used to live in Singapore and now lives in Oslo, he just put on let me just check the date, on the 25th of March, around the time I was looking at this, he put up a paper called Network-Based Collaborative Music Making, which was a good summary of what had been happening in the field. I'd done some work in this in the early 2000s, working on LANs. And I built a LAN jamming system. After I did that, I didn't look at it for years. Now there was a reason. So Stefano's article told me about this thing called JackTrip. No, didn't tell me that JackTrip. Soundjack is what it told me about.
I know they all have. I guess whichever way you're using a jack or two.
No, because Jack is the
yes,
it's a connection system that is often used in Linux machines and Macintoshes and stuff. So
there's another
Jack
pun there.
Yes. So what was I saying? Yeah. So I eventually discovered that Soundjack was there, and I looked around what other computer music people were saying about Soundjack, and that they were saying pretty positive things. The guy who developed it, Alexander Caro, he'd been doing this for a long time. He was writing about it 15, 20 years ago. So it's been a long, mature development process. So managed to get onto that, and that worked. And I think I first tried it out with you. Before we even had Ethernet cables.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, I remember that because I was in Singapore.
Yes, Shelley lives about 15 kilometers from me in Singapore, so the big test. but Wi-Fi is the enemy. So we were pretty bad, and then I moved my computer out to where my router was and plugged it into an Ethernet cable, and we found it was better. So everything online says Wi-Fi cannot do at all. But we live in Singapore, so Wi-Fi kind of worked because we have a ridiculously fast internet here. So then I thought, well, we'll experiment. And then my Sonic Escapade improv group with Deborah Tan and Lydia Ong, we started trying to do a weekly improvisation, which eventually a person called Shueh-li Ong was invited to as well, because we didn't want to leave her out. And then we slowly started changing the Wi-Fi to Ethernet, and everything worked magically. It went from being horrible but there to being almost transparent. So now when we play in Singapore with people spread all over the country, which is only the size of a postage stamp anyway, we can get about 20 milliseconds latency, which is like me playing 7 meters away from you. So that's very, very tight. So we can do all the rhythmic things and it all works happily.
Wonderful. I'm going to say hello to our friend Mike Flavin from, Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. I'm trying to remember where all our viewers and friends come from. Mike, I hope Flavin. I keep on calling him Mike Flavin. I don't know why. I'm going to stick.
Too much Australia.
I'm going to stick to Flavin because it sounds better.
You're just insulting him.
And our dear friend Ben Ang, he says 15 kilometers, that's halfway across the country for Singapore.
Yes, I know.
So, Mix, and everyone knows by now I call my dear friend Michael Spicer Mix. And I have license to call him Mix just because. No one else calls him Mix but me, I think. There may be
I
Mick.
think you're probably right.
There may be Mick, but I'm Mix. No one else has a right to call you Mix.
You've got a copyright on it. Okay.
So Soundjack does require the user to have some understanding of how audio over IP works to get the desired environment for best audio quality and lowest latency. As you, for example, as you were saying earlier on, that Soundjack seems to be the most friendly, user-friendly to, a larger audience, I suppose, who might want to use it. Not too much fiddling, but, some knowledge required, but otherwise. So I want to display Mick's screen capture of a Soundjack on my laptop, and I like to have you go through all the adjustments that were made to get to that performance environment that we found was the most ideal to do, to jam over the internet for a piece that has a rhythmic element in it. So let me just bring up the picky. 1 second.
This is actually the screenshot of us playing on New Year's Eve. Oh, sorry,
this one is
Boxing
Boxing
Day or Christmas
Day.
Eve? Boxing Day. So this is actually the session that the people just heard.
Yes.
And strangely, very few people on Soundjack stage this day. Okay, so if you look on the left-hand side, that is where all of the settings are. And then if you look in the middle, there's a list of all the people online. In this case, we only had 3, which is SLO is Shueh-li, Spicer is me, and Evil Dave, I don't know who that is. But he didn't come in. And then we have the little faders, and they're kind of like our own mixer. So everybody has their own mix of the people that are playing. Then there's the little VU meters, which indicate signal, and then the buttons, which either connect us in or not. And you'll notice that when the one next to my name, there is 149.5 milliseconds latency between Nashville and Singapore. So that means it's as if we were 50 or playing 50 meters apart, so halfway down a running track. That is too much latency to be really good and accurate rhythmically, but it's amazing. After we get used to it in a little while, we can kind of do it. So in fact, once we get used to it, it becomes unconscious. So if we look at the left-hand side a little bit, you'll see there's all these controls, and these are the tricky things that you need to mess about with and get right. The sample rate and everything is always 48 kilohertz, so that's okay. The sample buffer size can be changed. We found on this particular situation that 256 bytes seems to be the right size. We were sending stereo. Sometimes we just work in mono. You can see the two black dots there. There's 14 not quite so black.
Yeah, we actually found that either stereo or mono, it yielded the same result, so we went with a stereo.
Yeah, which is a bit counterintuitive because we'd expect the stereo to be twice the load. Then there's another little volume control down there that controls your amount of feedback from your local machine. If you're trying to do this in Zoom, what happens is that you, on your side, get suppressed. So to try and prevent feedback. So in Soundjack, you can control how much of you is there, which is handy. Then below that, another buffer, because we have a certain buffer for recording coming in through the microphone, but then once we've got the samples in the buffer, then we've got to send them out over to the internet, and they're sent in packets, so that determines the packet size. And below that, there's a codec, so it enables us to reduce the data. Now you'll notice that we're using 96 kilobytes per second. That's quite big. Often in the older days, we were using down at 24 kilobytes per second, which doesn't sound anywhere near as good. So that controls the quality. So it sends it across. Then, depending on how much traffic there is on the internet, it all has to be assembled on the other end. And this, you can see a green box with four BR, is it? I can't quite see. Anyway, that's a jitter reduction buffer. So that it means when the other person, the receiving computer, gets a signal from the internet, they get 4 buffers of however many samples are in the network buffer before they send them out. What this enables is that if certain packets are coming slower and some coming faster, they can all be assembled back and then output at the same sample rate. So that enables us to get a smooth sound on the listening computers. So in my case, I'm listening to Shueh-li's computer, and I probably had about 4, or maybe I had more. I may have had 8.
Oh, you did?
So, yeah, I don't remember actually, because that was a while ago. I would change that from time to time, even within a session, because depending upon the state of the internet, it could change. On this particular time, maybe because everybody was asleep or waiting for Father Christmas to arrive or something, there wasn't that much activity on the internet, and we had remarkably good performance. In Singapore now, in the morning we get very good performance, but in the afternoon, when everybody decides they should get some work done, then it slows down. So we make an alteration to that jitter buffer size.
Thanks, Mick. So jitter is defined as a variation in the delay of received packets, in case there's some of you who might need a little clarification, or that's just a summary anyway. You can look it up. But
yeah, good. I forgot to explain that.
Oh, it's okay. That's why I'm here.
Right.
I'll help you out. And as you can see on the screenshot, you do go online after you install an app to activate the Soundjack,
Yeah.
so to
Yeah,
speak.
it is a peer-to-peer server. So you can see up the top of the screen, there's a little round thing that looks like a Canon plug. That is the Soundjack server running. So the web page is just talking to that, and that app is doing all the work.
So you just create an account and you log in, soundjack.eu, and you are greeted by this interface. And the way you hook up, so to speak, is you call the other person and you wait for them
Yep.
to receive your call. And you can invite as
Yep.
many people calling you as you like to start your collaborative process.
Of course, the more people, the messier it becomes, because so much you get the variations of delays. It was interesting working with Deborah and Lydia when we had some people on the Ethernet and some people on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It was way more difficult to get everything sounding good.
Yeah.
We need to be sort of consistent, but more people, more hard.
That's true. So I want to say hello to a couple of our guests who did say hello. I am lost as to how to pronounce your name, but I'll pronounce it as I see it spelled. Sack Moti from Castlemaine in Australia, a friend of Tony's, by the way, it looks. Hi, Sack. And Michael and my good friend Jim Sosnan, late in connecting, but just back from a beach walk.
Hi, Jim. I wish I was at your beach, which is also my beach. It is far, just around the corner from where I live in Australia, when I live in Australia.
So anyway, Michael and our sessions were pretty successful, I thought. I was telling him, I think a few days ago when we Skyped just to make sure that we could connect via Skype, that I was a bit concerned initially before our recording and our jam session how comfortable it would feel to just let the stream of consciousness thing happen, because if things don't go as planned, if you have interruptions, it kind of interrupts that stream, doesn't it? But I was quite pleased with how things went. I think I used the word polished. I felt it was very polished. I felt like we actually did a proper recording session. It was
Did you explain how we assembled it?
No,
so
I'm
that
going to right now. That's
Okay,
the
then.
next bit. That's why I went there first. Aha, I have a method to my madness. So I want to go through quickly the equipment that I use, and then I let Michael walk us through his setup. And for me, so I'll show some pickies really quickly. For me, it was quite obvious from the video that I actually had my iPhone, as you can see, taking the snapshot of video of me playing the actual, me and keyboard. And as you can see to the left of me and my iPhone is my 13-inch MacBook Pro running Mainstage. And I used QuickTime to screen capture what was going on, and you'll see why in a second. So I've got a picture here of very crude connections because I didn't have much with me. Whoops, I might have hit that twice. Sorry, folks. So I had my MacBook Pro 15-inch running Soundjack. This is a 2011 model MacBook Pro. But it's capable of doing what we had to do. I monitored with headphones so we could hear, or I could hear, as Michael explained, both myself playing and the other party playing. I have my main stage going into my Focusrite, and the output of that going into the line in of my MacBook Pro 15-inch in the line in, as you can see there. Again, we're in lockdown, so I kind of rummaged through what I had and put together what I needed to get this happening. So it's crude, and crude is good, I think, sometimes, basic. And as you saw in the video, I had the X key and the axiom, 4-octave axiom, stacked on top of each other to play. And that's the Focusrite with the 15-inch on the right of me, sitting on my practice amp. And then because I ran everything soft synth wise, you know, Mainstage, I just want to show you quickly how I laid it out. In the video you saw that my actions on the keyboard mirrored the actions on this 88 key layout on Mainstage. So you could see which key I pressed, because the picture of the keyboard on Mainstage would also depress. Likewise, I assigned the 8 pads on the axiom to the 4 sounds that I want to assign it to, along with several plugins that I used. And so they're on-off switches, so to speak. And at the very bottom, a fader, volume fader for each of the 4 sounds. I only needed to be able to manipulate 4 sounds. If you look to the right, those are the channel assignments. The first one, so from left to right, the first one is what I call a percussion sound. It's a sampler plugin. I had velocity switching on the sampler, which means, for those of you who know, I created groups of velocities whereby if I hit harder or softer, I play different sounds. I also used an arpeggiator on that, which I turned on and off, as you can see on the layout on the left. Second channel, quickly, I call it rhythmic pad. I spell it that way because I didn't have much space for it on the channel. I had a pitch shifter, so I could play one note and it'd do a shift 4th down no matter what note I played. I had an arpeggiator on it, which I turned that runs constantly. I turned on and off a filter, LFO sweeping over 2 bars. The third sound is a lead sound with an LFO on cutoff on aftertouch. Of course, it's only channel aftertouch. String synth sound with the same auto filter plugin, which I could turn on and off, sweeping over 2 bars. And lastly, a bass sound. I had to be very aware of what modulations I use and to make sure it was synced to tempo or beat or whatever it is I wanted to sync to, including the loopback, which was a little percussion sound that I used eventually. I think, did I have it? Yeah. Oh, what was that? Sorry, I thought I heard a beep. So, of course, the last channel was a microphone for communication. And that's my setup. So, before I get Michael to explain his or walk us through his, I want to play a clip of one of the other songs that we jammed to where Michael plays flute. This one is a Boxing Day clip as well. So let's get to that. My clap.
Your clap. My clap.
So there you go. I want to bring up a comment by Tony Fowler. A couple of comments he made. He said, Andrew Goodman, Jim Sosnin, and I spent a lot of time using Apple's MIDI network setup to connect 3 computers in 3 continents for an installation. We also had to set up a VPN to pretend we're all in the same domain. This would make it so much easier, and we weren't so concerned about latency as well, says Jim. But before we consider latency once more, let us look at Michael's setup. Let's start with how you videoed your stuff. You began with the Canon camera on test day, didn't you?
I did on the Canon camera on test day, and that and it stopped halfway through, I think. Yeah. So the next day I used my Android phone, which I took this picture with, I think. I'm not sure. And that was fine, but I didn't realize that it shoots at 60 frames a second. So what we did is I recorded my stuff that I was playing in Logic at the same time as I played it, and the video was being recorded, and the video didn't have any sound except what was in the room. So when it heard me play flute, that's why I went clap and to do a synchronization. Then I tried to assemble them and to send over to Shueh-li in iMovie, and it didn't sync up properly because iMovie had issues with 60 frames per second somehow. Eventually I just put it into Logic and imported the movie, and it worked happily with the 60 frames and everything worked right. So then I bounced out the video and my audio in sync, which I then sent over to Shueh-li, and she did a similar thing, and then she assembled both of them together in Final Cut Pro.
So before you look at Michael's musical setup, because his is very different from mine, we might as well address the clap issue. Ben Ang wanted to know, why do you clap? And Mike Flavin suggested that I think the claps were there to listen for the delay. How surprising how tight it is. So Michael, Mix, I'm going to get you to explain the clap one more time.
Now, the clap is very simple. It's just like the olden days clipperboard thing in the movies. When you're recording in video and audio, you need one thing which is on both. And the clap, in the video, you can see where my hands come together and it makes a sound, which we can record at the same time. So it's just easy to synchronize. It is simple as that. When we're normally jamming, we don't normally video, and we don't normally record everything. This is especially so that we could get vision as well as the sound. And putting the strains on the computers and the network, we don't do the video. We've got Soundjack can do video, but it seems to die all the time. So
So
give up.
So Mix and I had to do a quick workaround. As Michael was explaining, we both recorded our audio individually on our own machines, and we both use Logic Pro. Correct me if I'm wrong as I'm explaining, in case I miss something, Mix. And you saw the equipment that we used to record our video. So for Michael, when he assembled his audio to his video so that I didn't have to try and locate the spots again, even though I did strip audio from video when I start laying them out in Final Cut Pro. But I'll get to that in a minute because I did mix down first. So I didn't actually use the audio on his video as per given. So for Michael, he had his visual cue, as he was explaining, like a clapperboard. For me, I used my clap along with the keyboard presses on Mainstage because you saw it moving. I had other clues to align to. But so that was the video with the audio. The audio then separately came to me, and I mixed them down, so to speak, because I had to do some EQing because we weren't mixed down by a mixing engineer, so to speak. So there were times where I seemed very loud as opposed to Michael when I wasn't loud in dB terms. So I had to EQ my shine off. I had to take the brightness off my audio recording, for example.
But if you were to be in real time with us and log into our Soundjack session, you would be able to listen to us play it live, and it would sound pretty much like that. And all those green faders on the right-hand side would allow you to do that balancing like Shueh-li was just talking about. So actually, when we were playing it, it sounded pretty much like that.
Absolutely. What I was trying to say, I guess, was to make a clean video to demonstrate so everyone could hear clearly what we were playing. I did take some liberties and mixed it down. So after doing the audio mix down, I then put it into Final Cut Pro and positioned the video with the audio. But as Michael said, there was no way, as I made the point earlier on, I was very pleased with how comfortable I was playing with Michael over the internet. I didn't stop at all. And again, when you're jamming, it's very much using your ears because there's nothing you're reading, there are no charts, there is no notation. Unless Michael shouts out, audio cues or whatever, there's no way you know what's going to happen next. So you use your ears a lot. To then comfortably use your ears and yet be creatively expressive, it must be a quality session, so to speak. And the audio streamed really well. The video, did I? Yeah, no, I didn't see Michael's. Oh, no, I didn't see your face, did I? No. I just heard you.
No, actually, we've been doing all of this just with listening. And it was very interesting when I came back to teaching on campus with Deborah and Nydia, we decided, let's play together in the same room. And then when we first did it, it was like really weird. I can see you. It was like we sort of got used to playing it just in the headphones. So, another thing that is sort of implied by what we're saying is that we are doing improvisation when we're doing this so it's real free form jamming. It's not pre-planned. We just make it up as we go. If we're going to be doing pre-planned things, well, maybe it'll be easier, maybe it'll be harder. But sometimes things go wrong, timing goes out. When we're improvising, we can accommodate that. Actually, in the sessions that we did around Christmas, everything went right, apart from my Canon camera. So we didn't have any issues.
That's true. Speaking of latency, I did want to address that when I did combine Michael's audio recording with mine, I had to move mine. I think the test session, which I will play the clip of in a minute, I had to push mine back 83 milliseconds. Times of ticking went back 125 milliseconds, and the flute piece was 250 milliseconds. But as in nudge it gently, just a little bit. But but everything fell into place in time. We weren't following a metronome or anything. So the fact that I just needed to nudge it a little bit, everything fell into place really nicely. So I could see that if each session went as polished or as smoothly as what happened for us on Boxing Day, I can imagine using Soundjack for tracking purposes as well.
Yeah, although it's not really optimized for tracking.
Yeah,
there are other software is actually optimized for tracking, which people are using successfully.
Yeah. Yes, which I hope we'll have a guest on to talk about that soon. Are there any other questions we have? Time always flies when we're having fun. I was preparing mix. I said, just keep an eye on the time because, time flies. It's amazing how it does. Anyone else with the question? No one has a question. Has anyone tried any of these improv or jamming over the internet stuff, platforms?
Not yet. I think let's look about my stuff, and then while they may have some questions either about my stuff or they might get some ideas about what they want to ask.
Okay, let me show your picks. So the first one I have is of your synth site.
Yeah, okay. I've only got that one on my screen. I forgot about the other one. But that's okay. So this is like the big panned picture, right? So it's got guitar pedals on the left and a mini Moog on the right. Yes? That's the one?
I don't know why you're breaking up, which is strange.
Oh, am I? Okay. Yes, it's the correct one. Now, so what I found, especially doing any improvisation, but especially on the internet, the immediacy is important with being able to play the instrument. That's why I've gone kind of back to using analog synthesizers with knobs and things, although I still do use computer software for particular things. But for this, I tend to use everything with knobs. If you see, there's two modular synthesizers in that shot. They tend to be set up. Oh, yeah, can you hear?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I went from your showing the picture where you are breaking up. Can you speak again? Okay, it seems okay now. Please continue.
Okay, so I've got two modular synthesizers, and what we found to be a good idea is that only one person in the group of people playing online should be generating the rhythm track. So what I've been doing with the modular synthesizers here and combined with a little drum machine sometimes, I have been setting up generative patches on the modular synthesizers to create sort of rhythm tracks. And they'll be playing percussion things, and they'll be playing drones, and they'll be providing some harmonic framework. And that is kind of like our metronome that we'll be playing to. It's not really a metronome, but it's providing a rhythmic foundation. In the piece we just heard, I was using a Moog subharmonicon in there as well, which is, you can see it sitting over there on the Rhodes piano.
The very first piece.
The very first piece we played, yes, which had the electric piano in it as well. That had the subharmonicon working in with the modular. In fact, the modular was changing the subharmonicon. So the subharmonicon was actually integrated in, and it provided our rhythmic foundation. And then you played on top of that, and then I went over and played on the Rhodes. Why do I use multiple keyboards like that? just so that on the spur of the moment, I can just change things. That's another reason why I still use a Mini Moog after like a million years. In fact, I've got 3. That's a reissue. So the other 2 can be a bit unreliable. Ironically, this one just broke recently. So for another concert, I had to use a really old one. The reason why I use it is because it's so simple. You can just program it and make it do anything you want without thinking about it. And in this online improv situation, that's an important thing. The other thing I often do is I often use a delay on the rhythm track to reinforce where the rhythm is. So you can see a Strymon timeline there. And that's about it, actually. Anybody got any questions about other things you can ask?
I'm going to move over to the other picture that you took. I noticed that when we do the pictures, your Skype audio breaks up. So that's why I've been going back to your other non-picture showing screen. But let me show your laptop side. And I hope everyone can hear us clearly. But don't speak for a while because it always breaks up. I don't know why. So on this side, you can see Michael's laptop. Running Soundjack, and you used did you use the same one for recording the audio or a separate one?
I use the same computer because I basically submix everything in those 2 mixes, and that goes into the 2-channel input in the audio interface, which is the red box there, and then that goes into Soundjack, but it can also go into Logic. So I just run Logic in the background and record onto 2 tracks.
Got it.
And that's the simplest way. I found with all of this online jamming, you keep it as simple as you possibly can. That's why I don't use clever things like you do with the Mainstage and everything, because you've got to do loop backs and all sorts of funny, complicated digital plumbing, which I found sometimes dies for me. So old school analog going into a simple audio interface. I could have used a 2-channel audio interface, but I only use 2 channels in, and then I monitor everything out in headphones. When you're doing this, you should always monitor on headphones. Don't do speakers because it just adds more delay because of the distance from the air. Or in the air from the speaker to your ear. You'll notice there I'm using an SM58 instead of a more expensive microphone. And that's because if you look out the window, there's a road. There's a reservoir and a road. And on that road are trucks. Trucks like to go by. So if I have a very sensitive microphone, you just hear them. And, concerto for truck, not good. And that's essentially what we do. You'll notice I use a volume pedal on the Mini Moog all the time.
I'm gonna switch over to that picture for a second, so don't talk because you crackle up. But I want everyone to see what you've been referring to, so I'm gonna take that away. And you see the volume pedal that he's talking about. Yes, you may continue.
I continue, yeah. One thing I should say is this room changes every week. If you come in next week, it'll look different because I've got all this equipment, but I don't have enough room to have it all up. So whatever project I'm doing, I will put stuff in and stuff out. The constant is I always have the Rhodes and I always have the Mini Moog there. Everything else changes. Even the contents of the modulars, they get moved around every 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Michael is in the enviable position, at least from my point of view, to be able to have place for all his toys. I scaled down, so I ended up going soft synths, and hence I used Mainstage. And as I was telling him before the jam, that I had the X key for the longest of time, but I never thought I would need to use it. But I had to whip it out because I needed 8 octaves or 88 keys, and of course my Axiom is only 4 octaves wide. So it finally came in handy because I also used it to trigger a loop playback. So there you go. I've got a comment from Ed Egan who said to mix, I'm finding that loop back on the Mac is great for that digital plumbing.
Yeah, it may well be right. I've got to the place where at the moment it all works the way I'm doing it. But if next time I need to change, which could happen any minute depending on what I'm doing, I will remember loopback.
There you go. Thanks, Ed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ben Ang had this to say, I find it funny, that your video call is having glitches, but your live jam worked so well. I know. It's crazy. I have no explanation for that. It's random, and today it seems that it likes to glitch whenever we look at pictures, so I'm sorry about that. So, okay, I want to show another video clip. Again, it's edited from our test session. This test session was a test session, but we recorded it because, why not?
Yeah, that's what we were testing, wasn't it?
So here we go. This one, yeah, so again, it's a clip.
I'm going to do my clap.
So that was our test piece. I don't think I gave it a name.
No, I didn't give it a name. I think it's called our test piece.
Yeah, test piece sounds good. So, mixing an article, Oxford University, I think it was on their website somewhere I saw it, recommends Soundjack suitable for rehearsal and performance. What are some of the issues you might have with this recommendation, and what kind of improvements do you think are required?
Well, it still requires the internet to work. So, in Singapore, we did pretty good with our improv group rehearsals, and they're more like workshop practices. And but everywhere else in the world, I don't know how well it'll work. You know, the further apart people are, the more likely things go wrong. We had two people on different sides of the planet, and it worked fine. I don't know what it'd be like if we were to add somebody, say, in Australia and somebody, say, in London. But for performance, well, assuming we're playing and someone's listening, well, then the people have to then just log in and be passive participants. So maybe that will work, but I found the more people we had on it, the more unstable it was. So I'm not sure how well that would work, but people have been doing it. Maybe, I don't know. We've not tried that. We have been working with a particular way. We have been using it for rehearsal, so it's fine, as long as everybody's got the infrastructure to support it. Because it's not the software that is the problem, it's the transport of the packets between the machines where the problems lie. Soundjack provides an easy interface, so in many ways that, you know, has a lot to recommend it. I haven't felt the need to go and find anything else.
Thanks, Mix. Any questions out there? Ed has a question. What's the largest group, Michael, that you had working together at one time? With Soundjack, I suppose.
Yeah, about 8. And that was with students, and it was all quite messy.
Yeah, if I may say so, it could be that there are only two of us and that we somewhat knew how to get the adjustments that we need to have a smooth session. And you really want to be able to do that pre-session so that when you get together, you can just start, doing the musical activity. But as I was saying, it went off so well that I was pretty surprised.
Yeah. We've been doing this since March, so we've done it a lot of times, and we've had a lot of problems over the time. So it's got big improvements as time has gone by, and there's frequent updates. In fact, there was an update just today.
Oh, okay.
Or yesterday.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So Ben Ang has a question for performance. Can you just have the performance on Soundjack, then audience watch a live stream of the performers by OBS or StreamYard, meaning the audience is watching on YouTube live? I guess you could Mix, you can supplement or correct me, but I think you start taxing your computer's resources. The more things you have up and utilizing, the core energy or the core soul of your computer, the more trouble you're going to get. Michael?
Yeah, I think it would be hard on the resources, knowing how struggling the computer can be. And we're using pretty powerful Macintoshes to do this. But maybe it'll work. This is a job for you, Ben.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I remember I was telling Mix this because, I'm trying to get the Mopefest 07 gang on my live stream, but there are, I think, 8 altogether, and I need some help testing them on Zoom to then stream through my aggregate, because there's no way that Skype can support 8 and for me to stream at the same time. If you guys recall, I had Herb Deutsch and Jim Scott, and we were struggling to go live. So I had to terminate my call with them, go live, and then bring them back in. So Ben says me and my big mouth.
That's okay.
Anyone else with question? I guess what you could do would be, do what Michael and I did. Have a third camera person.
Yeah.
And they stream out their laptop, not touching your stuff.
That's right.
Yeah, just
You
do
could
it.
do that.
Yeah, do it that way. Or you could set up another laptop. I don't know. Then you better make sure you have Ethernet connection.
Oh yeah, you can't do this really without the Ethernet connection. Ethernet is key.
Ethernet is your friend.
Yes.
Anyone else with questions? I'm sure there are a few bubbling away. Oh, while they're bubbling away, I want to say hello to Gary. Gary's from Maryland. I've forgotten which part of Maryland you're in. Phoenix. No, not Phoenix. No, I don't know. There are too many towns swimming in my head now. But nice to see you, Gary. Anyone else with questions? Oh, Mike Flavin to me, says, I'm still struggling with the idea of the audio going out and back faster than the speed of light.
Well, it's not going faster than the speed of light. But yeah, it is so fast. And going out in little packets, and they're getting lost and then coming back and being found again.
And Mike Flavin replies, I'm just a bass player, ha ha. No, you're not, Mike. But whatever.
Actually, there's no such thing as just a bass player. Bass is important.
Benang chimes in with, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Every performance could have separate cameras. We don't have to text individual computers. Precisely why you're here at this live stream, Ben, to get ideas like that from us.
So we'll see all the NUS Electronic Music Lab people doing this before too long.
Gary, Frederick Maryland here tells me, he says, great to see you, and Michael, really want to see this from the beginning, but you came in late. That's all right. As I say, better late than never. Anyone else? All these comments are coming in really quickly, and it's good to see that you guys are still around and that you've been paying attention. Oh dear. I'm not usually mean. I just like to have fun with my friends and my regular viewers because I feel like I know you all already. I do know you all already. Anybody else? If not, I'm going to wait a couple more minutes because it's getting... Oh, I'm not sure Michael has to do something after this, but it is 17 minutes past 10 a.m. Michael's side in Singapore.
Where he said we were going to be an hour. He's been an hour and 18 minutes. Ooh.
Yeah, I know. I'm bad. I'm going to wind up. Wind up? Did I say wind up? Yeah, I guess
you're gonna wind up? No, you're not. Are you gonna wind? Are you? Okay.
Oh dear. Ben, you're full of thoughts. Ben says we need to set up a Soundjack jam between NUS and SP and even the NTU group. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been talking about with Q, actually. We've been trying to work out getting some of the local synthesizer guys here in Singapore, one step at a time. And that's one reason why we're showing people this, because when we've done this, we can show the other guys.
Absolutely. So, Ben, you need to call Michael's secretary, and his secretary will call whoever's at NTU, and you guys will find the right time and right place to try it out.
Yeah, Ben short-circuited that entire that entire communication. That's okay.
Well, Mike Flavin says, I like to join the Soundjack jam, but I have no idea how to set these things up on my computer. Maybe I need to start my own cohort here. I'll call it I don't know what I'll call it, and I'll join the NUS and the SP and the NTU jam.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have trouble with, it looks a deceiving, mind you. As Michael was saying, 2 people, that was pretty easy. straightforward. I might say wasn't so much easy. It was more straightforward. But when you start adding more people, there are more issues to resolve, such as technical issues. Why can't I this? So if you have, you might need a tech team on the site to help the individuals resolve. Otherwise, the session never gets off the ground.
Yeah. It's very difficult doing technical support where everybody's distributed over space. So we often, in the early days, we had a phone running WhatsApp as well as the Soundjack running, and it was all like, can you hear me? Can you hear me? No, it doesn't work. And then all of a sudden, eventually it works and you realize how slow WhatsApp is.
Yeah, so I guess when you have a go at this, you realize, there is some work to be done. As I said, some idea of audio over IP is a good thing. And some idea of digital adjustments or digital sound specs is a good thing, good knowledge to have if you want to give this a go, because there's no one there to help you. Ed Egan, sorry, Mix.
No, I just saying I did notice that the Soundjack site has got a few tutorials built by Soundjack users, which are relatively new, which might be helpful.
There you go. Ed Egan says, well done, you two. Enjoyed your explorations into this collaborative performance system. Thanks, Ed. Appreciate your kind comments. So, all right, if no one else has anything to say, because I don't want to keep Michael Spicer any longer, I do want to share a comment from Gary, who has already heard our triangle EDM set. Michael and I, using similar systems, spent some time physically in his studio, did some tracking on various sounds and things, and then I took it back with me and I created 3 EDM songs out of them, and they are delightfully named Delight, the universe together, and it is a message. And we are they're being sold on my Bandcamp site for $6, and you can hold on 1 second, Michael. So no one can see Michael at this moment or me, but I just want to show you shueh-li-ong.bandcamp.com. You see this picture, and that's where it is. If you want to support Michael and my efforts, that'll be fun. But obviously Gary has heard them already. Is Gary gonna download them too? So the $6 includes the 3 songs and the 3 music videos that I put a lot of creative blood, sweat, and tears into. And the second and third videos are slightly different from the actual audio recordings. I thought I'd take advantage of it being video and do something a little different. Nothing like a story, like, a lot of music videos where you can create a story out of it. I didn't have those resources, but I did make it a little different from the actual song. So go check them out. It's only $6. Bandcamp takes their commission, which is 15%, so really, it's less than that. It's like $5 something. Yes, I'm going to make this a final comment for Mike Flavin. He says, I'm looking at the Soundjack website and there's a lot of info there, precisely what Michael Spicer said. And thanks, Gary. He says, I'll support my local musicians and you guys too. Cool bananas. Okay, Michael Spicer Mix, my dear friend. Thank you so much for your time.
A pleasure.
And energy. Ben Ang also thanks you. Super valuable, he says. And everyone thanks you. Tony Fowler, he thanked you earlier on. He says, thanks for knowledge. I'm on it. Okay.
Yeah, well, thank you for all listening.
So everyone, I'm going to say goodbye, and then I'm going to show you guys a reminder of what music I have for sale. But again, thank you, Mix. I want to play a little applause for you.
Oh, yeah?
And of course, you are awesome. Yay!
I can't see all of that, but that's okay.
So thanks, Mix. I'll see you soon because Michael's gonna help me test out Zoom Meet with my streaming aggregate for the Mokefest 07 gang. If anyone wants to help, Gary, Mike, Flavin, if you want to help us, let me know because I'm hoping to have the Mokefest 07 gang on my live stream either the 23rd or the 30th of January. So if you want to help me, Gary, Mike, Flavin, let me know. Okay, thanks, Mix. Take care,
Okay.
and I'll see you soon.
Okay,
I might
bye-bye.
even do a quick Skype call with you after this.
Okay,
Okay,
no trouble.
bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, folks. So just a quick reminder, I do have the Triangle EDM set from my Bandcamp store. I still have the collector's set because there are only now 7 of them. If you want one, please comment or send me a message or an email or something, and I will get it packaged to you. Coincidentally, I don't know if this might sweeten the deal, as they say. I did find a couple more postcards. This one was from when, let me just get this mirroring correct. This one was from the premiere of my first concert. Hold on. There you go. This is a postcard. I have a few of, I think 5 of them left. And this one, when I did my 05 fall tour in Texas, I have also 5 of these left. I would include them in this collector set. If anyone's interested, please let me know in the comments. Cool bananas. Oh, hi, Kiss. You're a little late. Michael's just left us. As in, on the live stream. But it's nice to see you. Okay, guys. That was cool having you on. And thanks for chipping in with your comments and your questions. Again, take a gander over to my Bandcamp store or let me know if you want the collector's set. Next week, we have Michelle Mokusa, Executive Director of Mookseum, a project of the Bob Moog Foundation, which carries his legacy forward through education and archive preservation. I am sure you have questions for her, so join us then. In the meantime, stay safe and stay happy, y'all. Okay, it's so good to see you this 2021, and I look forward to many more enjoyable live streams. Have a great evening or a great day. Take care. See you soon. Bye.